Alright, so we're going to write inequalities today. Learning's target is pretty simple. It is I can write inequalities in one variable. Alright, let's figure out how to do this. So your key concept here, in order to write inequalities, the first thing that you need to do is choose a variable. We need to choose a variable. Okay, it can be any single variable that you want. And remember, variable is just some sort of a letter that is in place for a number. Okay, so we could choose X, we could choose Y, we could choose W, we could choose Z, whatever the heck we feel like, we can choose that variable, right? Okay, the second thing we need to do is identify if the shading is greater than or if it's less than the point that's given. Then we need to use that sign to write the inequality, okay? That's how we write inequalities based on a graph that's been given. So let me show you what this is all about. Example 1 gives us a graph, and it says to write the inequality shown by the graph, okay? And remember, when I said that we need to write inequalities, I said the first thing that we need to do is identify a variable, okay? So we're just going to go ahead and say X. Okay, we're going to identify the variable as X. Okay, and what we see here is that the point that's given is at 2 right here. It is not filled in. That circle is not filled in. The dot's not filled in. So that means that we're not talking about less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. We're talking about less than or greater than. And it's shaded to the left. So all these values over here, if we think about this, are less than this point that's given. They're not greater than. They are less than that point that's given, which means that we have to use our less than sign. X is less than. Okay? And what we know X is less than is this point where the dot is lying at is 2. Therefore, X is less than 2. And that's honestly all you have to do in order to write an inequality, is just identify which way it's shading. Is that less than the point or is that greater than the point? Give you a hint, if it's on the left side of the point, then it's less than. If it's on the right side of the point, then it's greater than. Alright, example 2 says that the members of a lightweight crew team can weigh no more than 165 pounds each. We need to define a variable, write an inequality for the acceptable weights of the team members, and then graph the solutions. Okay, so if we look at this first sentence, let's just go ahead and underline those important terms. We see that the members of a lightweight crew team, so we're talking about a lightweight crew team, can weigh no more is an important word, than 165 pounds each, right? Okay, so we've got our important information, and if we write this back out just using the pieces of information, it says lightweight crew team, and I'm going to add members on the back of that, are no more than 165 pounds each. Right? Okay, so that's our important information. And remember, the first thing that this question tells us to do, and in the key concept I told you to do as well, is define what our variable is. Okay, and we know our variable is just weight, right? That's what we're trying to figure out, is what are the acceptable weights for the team members. So we're going to go ahead and say over here that W, you can choose whichever variable you want. I'm choosing W as the weight of the crew team members. Okay, so we've defined the variable now as W. And we know that this W here is the weight of the crew team members. That's this portion right here. So we're going to put W in for that. And no more, what that means, no more, is that W has to be less than whatever this is, right? It's not more than it. It wouldn't be greater than, so it'd have to be less than 165 pounds. Now the question before we end this up and wrap it up and say that that's our inequality is, does it include 165? Can a lightweight crew member weigh exactly 165 pounds and be on the team? Well, if we read the question, it says that it can't be more than 165, so that would include 165, which means we need to put this equal to at the bottom of it as well, which means that our inequality is W is less than or equal to 165 pounds. Okay, so now we've written the inequality, and it asks us now to graph the inequalities. Okay, so I drew a graph down here. I'm going to go ahead and just move this down a little bit, and you guys can pause the video and draw your graph real quick as well. So what we know is that W is less than or equal to 165 pounds. So let's go ahead and first, remember we learned how to graph yesterday. And remember that the first thing that we're supposed to do is put a dot at that numerical location. Now it says that W is less than or equal to 165 pounds. And we're going to go ahead and put that dot there at 165, and we're going to fill it in because it does include it. Remember, it's less than or equal to. Okay, and if we take a look at here, let's put some points here. 162, is that less than 165? Well, yes, certainly that is less than 165. So that means we can shade in the left direction. And if we look at this other side, 166, is that less than 165? No, it is not. And so we have then graphed our solution. That is all we are doing today. Hope you enjoyed it, and good luck.